All right, awesome. We are live. Welcome in, everybody. Marco here, from Ocean City, Maryland. Finally sunny down here, DJ. We were getting a little remnants of the hurricane here, but the sun is out, indicative of that we have college football this weekend coming up. I got awesome guests on here. DJ Abplanalp, Ball State's finest, right? You, Nate Davis, David Letterman, holding it down from Muncie, Indiana, man. Welcome. Give everybody a shout out as to where they could find you, and yeah, man, excited to have you.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at PixWDeej. And basically, I tweet out, I do bet MLB occasionally, but the focus of my account is college football, college basketball, NFL as well. So yeah, just give me a follow there if you guys don't mind. I'm excited. I'm It's like Christmas morning almost. Like when you're a little kid, it's right around the corner, and college football is near. We are so close. I can't wait.
Yeah, man. Are you kind of like me? You don't understand those people that are like just only NFL fans, right? Or like only, you know, I watch football, but then I only watch NFL. And it's like being in Maryland, we're not like a big college football town. Like there's people that like it, but I mean, I will be out for games. I'm like, hey, can you put this college football game on? And they're like, they'd rather watch like an NFL preseason game, and that never made any sense to me. And it's like I've always been the pageantry of college football. Just so many more games on throughout the day, and I think there's a lot more meaningful storylines. Like I never understood why people are only NFL fans. Are you kind of the same way?
I'm the exact same way. I don't really understand it, especially since your NFL team is drafting kids from college, and don't you want to like have an idea of who they're bringing in? But that's my thought process of it. But I love college football. To me, it's like the last. Like the NFL is great and all, but college football is the last. Like I don't know if traditional isn't the right word, but like it's like chaos almost. Like you just like a G5 school could go out and put a game against an SEC team or a Big Ten team, and you never know what's going to happen. Like it's chaos, and that's why I think it's the best sport in the world personally.
Plus, we had Tom Rinaldi and everyone else making us cry at 9 o'clock in the morning with stories on College Game Day. Grown men physically sitting in there crying in their living room, but you don't get that with the NFL pregame shows. But
no, College Game Day rocks.
Yeah.
I cannot wait until Saturday to watch the first one. But
Katy Perry holding up the corn dog at the Grove was legendary. But we'll digress, and we'll get right into some games here, man. So yeah, like I said, really appreciate it, man. And we know obviously your expertise here in college football. So many good games in week 0, week 1. A lot of intriguing matchups. We're gonna table the kind of ranked versus ranked games. Talk about those a little bit later. But just I guess a couple games that you find intriguing that maybe they're off the radar, maybe it's a ranked team versus an unranked, or just games with like good storylines, question marks outside of Bill Belichick.
yeah.
What are 2 or 3 games that even if you're just not going to bet them, that you're intrigued to watch?
Yeah, so the one game that sticks out to me is Jacksonville State and UCF. Jacksonville State, they entered the Conference USA a couple of years ago, and they actually performed really well, a lot better than a lot of people thought they were going to. And their head coach left and so did a lot of their roster. So they have quite a bit of roster turnover. And they got Charles Kelly, which was an offensive line coach, I believe, from Colorado. He's coming in. And I want to see how they look because – they lost their QB. They brought in Gavin Wimsatt, who was previously, you probably know the name. He played for Rutgers, and then he went to Kentucky. He didn't get any playtime at Kentucky, excuse me. And now I believe he's going to be their QB1. So I kind of want to see how their offense is working now, because rumor has it is they're going to go to a pass-heavy offense, and that was the complete opposite of what they were last year with Huff. So UCF, they have 3 different QBs that are in the QB battle, and I believe the starter is going to be Taven Jackson. He was the backup QB for IU last year. His brother is Trace Jackson Davis, as you guys probably know. Okay. Big college basketball fans. Being from the state of Indiana, I actually competed against this kid like my whole life. He went to Center Grove, won multiple state championships. But anyway, I want to see UCF's offense because they really need to go to like a pass heavy scheme, in my opinion, because last year it was hard to watch at times, but I think both of these teams are going to, go at each other. And I think you can see some fireworks in this specific matchup.
And just for people to know, Jacksonville State is not in Jacksonville, Florida, correct? It's in Alabama.
Correct. It's in Alabama. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I think it was. Did they drop a 50 burger in the Conference USA title game last year, or
They
was
did.
it? Yes, yeah. I remember
Yep.
watching it, and they, like you said, it was just run after run after run. I'm sitting there screaming, "The run's coming!" And
Yep.
the other team couldn't stop it. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. They were really fun to watch, but like I said, they lost. I'm not sure where their head coach went last year. I should know that, but they lost like literally everybody because it was like a shock. Like nobody really thought they were going to do anything, and then they came into Conference USA and kind of ran the table. To be honest, like it was pretty impressive. But I think they're going to be solid this year. Like nothing crazy. Conference USA is like a pretty weak conference to begin with. Like Liberty is going to be really good. Western Kentucky is going to be good, but their defense has some serious question marks in my opinion. So, I mean, we'll see, but I think those three teams have to be the top of Conference USA.
Yeah, our boy Rob the other day was talking about Western Kentucky and going back out to the air raid offense. So he's super excited about watching them. So love the Hilltoppers, love the logo of the guy doing that. But yeah, good quality football that comes out of those conferences, and that's what people don't realize. I mean, we were talking about kind of pre-show NFL draft and following players, and you mentioned it on there. It's like these are the guys that play on Sunday. Like, get to know them, get to learn them, and especially when you see quarterbacks out there. I mean, like you look at Bailey Zappi, who started a game in the NFL. I mean, it's like you could find quality quarterbacks wherever, and especially given the transfer portal, you're not getting a guy who was lately recruited. You might be getting a guy who was a stud, 5-star and 4-star or whatever, and just finds their way into, one of the group of 5 schools. So very, very intriguing.
Absolutely.
Good choice. Good choice on that one. Plus, Scott Frost is back at UCF, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So him and Rich Rod at West Virginia will be very interesting to see how both of them kind of do it. And it's like UCF was on the cusp, and then he left, and they were awful last year. Although RJ Harvey for Rookie of the Year might not be a bad play, outside of Becca and Murray and Hampton. But yeah, UCF has put some talent out there as well too. So, any thoughts on like a kind of Tennessee, Syracuse, or Toledo, Kentucky? A couple games that I like, as far as for some possible upsets. But I guess thoughts on those 2 games, are they intriguing to you at all?
So let's talk about the Kentucky one first. We can go back to Syracuse, Tennessee. I actually am a Kentucky fan, but I'm very down on them this year. I think this is Mark Stoops' last hurrah with Kentucky.
Right.
He originally was going to leave for Texas A&M 2 years ago now, and then like the contract fell through because A&M fans were quite frankly pissed off they hired him, which I'm not sure why. I mean, his record against top 25 teams is absurd, especially given the talent that Kentucky had. Like this, not a lot of guys you can name. That doesn't matter anyway. This season, it's a really awkward. Like I don't like him this year at all. They bring in a kid from Abilene Christian, I believe, and he's going to be all right. But their schedule is not doing them any favors. Like I said, they beat Ole Miss last year. That was a shock to many. They're not beating them again this year. They played Georgia, which they had Georgia down to the wire last year, and it's just I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this roster. I think Mark Stoops is kind of knows he's got to make a bowl game to retain his job, in my opinion, because Kentucky fans, although like historically Kentucky football is not good, they expect to make a bowl game, be competitive, beat a few SEC teams they shouldn't. And with this roster, I don't see it happening personally. So, and Toledo is actually going to be really good in the MAC this year. They're obviously the conference favorite for a reason. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see week 1 that Toledo somehow catches the Cats sleeping a little bit, and either not necessarily, they might not beat them, but they're going to give them a run for their money. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, teams should be beating down the door to get Stoops. I mean, for how he made Kentucky relevant. I mean, yeah, the Andre Woodson years ago, who was the Heisman favorite for 8 games. I mean, Ray Davis, look how awesome he was. I mean, there's a lot of good wins that Kentucky had, and beating Penn State in that bowl game a few years ago. As a Penn State hater, I loved that. You know what I mean? It was absolutely amazing. And I mean, why A&M didn't hire him, like you said, like why they had an issue with it. Hopefully Elko's their man, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, if Mark Stoops goes out, I think it goes out after this, like even in a down year, I think Kentucky fans could, really appreciate everything that he did, because he became relevant in football, and that's hard to do at Kentucky, as you know. So
absolutely. I mean, like you said, they had Terry Wilson. They call him Terry Touchdown in Lexington. He was electric to watch. Benny Snell. He played for the Steelers, excuse me, for a little bit. Will Levis. I mean, he came from Penn State. Nobody really expected him to do anything, and I mean, he wasn't really good in the NFL, but he's an NFL QB. and then like a receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson transferred from Nebraska to Kentucky. He's a Kentucky kid. He's from there, and he's an NFL wide receiver too for the Giants. I mean, the Giants aren't anything special, but like Mark Stoops definitely, and his record against top 25 teams is, I don't know off the top of my head. I saw a stat earlier last week, and it's kind of insane, like how impressive Mark Stoops like stats against top 25 teams are. And that Kentucky defense they had last year was legit, but they lost basically all of those guys. Okongbe's gone, Deion Walker's gone. They lost Maxwell Harrison. He got drafted. Like all those guys are gone, and I think it's not looking good for Lexington for the Wildcats this year. It's just not. So
it's a sign of a great program. And I remember years ago when Kevin Sumlin was at A&M and they were rolling, and no one considered them a blue blood. I'm like, hey, A&M is putting in way more players in the NFL than Michigan is, right? I mean, you just named players from Kentucky there in the NFL a decade ago. That's unfathomable, or before he even started there. So, that's a good mark of the talent that you're bringing in. And, that's part of the reason why Mike Locksley still has a job here at Maryland, is like they put talent in, and Maryland's put talent in the NFL before he got there, which is weird that the program really hasn't done much, kind of thing as well too. So, yeah, man, but we'll talk about best bets later. That is going to find their way onto mine. I have 2 plays with that. So, just let me know kind of your thoughts on it after we get to that segment. But Tennessee, Syracuse, kind of the intriguing aspect for me is just like, Tennessee made it, kind of college football playoff. Now had a terrible draw. They weren't winning that Ohio State game. Nico leaves. It's like, hey, Tennessee's kind of under Heupel, had Hendon Hooker. They threw goalposts into the Tennessee River after beating Alabama. They made the playoff. Their defense was pretty legit. They demolished NC State on national television last year, and that kind of was where they arrived. This doesn't feel like a great spot for them. I mean, so much pressure on them. They're ranked number 24, but it's like the expectations are still to win, and you got to win despite Nico being there. And Syracuse has nothing to lose, right? It's a neutral site game. They did overachieve last year, but they have a quarterback that's got some talent that transferred from Notre Dame, some experience. Like the Orange probably won't be as good as they were last year, but 14 is a lot, man. That's kind of what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 14's a lot of points in this specific matchup, but it's one that I don't know if I'm going to buy into. I'll definitely be watching because I am a big SEC guy. This Joey Aguilar kid came from the whole scenario, as most of the people watching this probably know. It was basically a trade, which, I mean, obviously trades don't exist in college, but Nico Lamaleva came from Tennessee. He went to UCLA, and UCLA's QB came to Tennessee in the transfer portal. So it's a very unique situation, and I don't really know much about Aguilar, so that's why I want to watch this game. And there's a lot of turnover on this defense. They retained some guys, but they also lost quite a bit. And Heupel's a good coach. I'm actually a big Heupel guy, even though I'm not a big Volunteer fan. I'm a Kentucky fan, obviously, so it's a rivalry. But I don't know what to expect. And Syracuse is always like that. They ended the year last year really good. So I don't know. I think 13.5 is maybe a little bit too many points, given, it's week 1. We don't really know what to expect from Tennessee. And that's kind of what's making me hesitant to pull the trigger here. I mean, Tennessee's win total is 8.5. It's very juiced to the under. So, I mean, this is a game that I think they win. Do they cover? I don't know. 2 possessions, especially being 2 touchdowns. I don't know. That's a lot to me.
Yeah, it's more or less not my trust in Syracuse. It's more that number is massive, and can I trust Tennessee to blow out a power conference team on a neutral site like that? Now they could come in and blow the doors off of them, and we could be completely wrong here. But we do know one thing for sure, though. When James Franklin is in the second half, he's either going for 2 and/or an onside kick to cover that 44.5-point spread against Nevada. So. If there was a book that had theirs, I'll lay some coin on that. So kind of your thoughts on Franklin and running it up there. I mean, are we going to see him win by 50?
I've never seen anything like it. He plays to cover, and it's the most obvious thing ever. And people just don't really, and it's not necessarily they don't talk about it, but they don't give it the attention it should, because it was crazy the amount of times he did that last year. But this Penn State team is going to be insanely good. Everybody knows that, but this Nevada team, I watched them last year. They're really bad. So they might not score a touchdown, to be completely honest with you. So Penn State probably beats the absolute crap out of them.
There we go. Well, yeah, so I guess we'll get into kind of the rank versus rank games after this. But I just wanted to, as a better guy who does it, professionally and has had the success that you've had, man, and, what you've been doing, this isn't 5 years ago, right? The transfer portal has changed a lot, and it's got to make it so much harder to do your handicapping and your off-season prep work on week 0 and 1. You're almost kind of going in blind with like a lot of more what ifs. Like, do you bet less games? Like, how strategic are you in kind of the games that you bet? And like, do you think Vegas is still off on a little bit of the lines because they have no idea as well? Like, can you find an edge anywhere?
Yeah, so I think that Vegas, they know more than like the public does. They know more than us, but at the same time, they might be hanging a number to where it's beneficial to them, so they might get more action on one side. Like it's like always, but a lot of people don't know like how games are going to play out because, like you said, we are going blind. Like most of these teams, if I mean, a majority of these teams are completely new. We have to learn what they're going to do. Like we know, like Sarkisian, we know his schemes. We know Ryan Day what he's going to do. So for me personally, I focus on schedules. Like we'll talk about it a little bit later, I think. But Baylor and Auburn, like both of those teams have really hard schedules and really hard conferences, and they need to start out hot. So, like if they win that game, that excuse my language, but can light a fire under their ass that they need to win. So I bet a lot of like I look at schedules, like I said, I look at roster changes, coaching matchups, and other similar factors. And I usually bet a lot of unders early in the season. I am an under better. I bet way more unders than I do overs. It's just personally I've had more success with it, and I look for it, especially in like these big games. And but you know, here's an example of like a team that's facing a lot of turnover. You mentioned Rob earlier, and he mentioned like Western Kentucky. So Western Kentucky plays Sam Houston State week 0, we call it. So, and their team total is 36.5. So for me, that like screams like obviously there's going to be a lot of points in it. But what the average person might know that's just saying a week 0 game that, you know, knows a lot about Western Kentucky is that air raid style, a lot of points. 36.5 points is a lot. I don't care who they're playing. That's not to say, you know, they couldn't go get that number, but I look at team totals on like basically every game just to get an idea of what Vegas thinks could be, what happens, and so not. So I know that was like kind of a bit of a, you know, weird answer because I just have like a method in my brain that works for me. But I definitely bet less games earlier in the year than I will like starting like week 3, week 4, and so on. Especially like unit wise, I'm $100 better. So I might bet, you know, 5 games on a week 3 board that I like, but compared to, you know, week 0, week 1, I might cut my unit in half and bet 4 games. So I only have, you know, $200 pending. So it's all, you know, gambling's supposed to be fun, but at the same time, you're in it to make money. And I think the smart thing is, in my opinion, is to, you know, limit your bet, limit the amount, especially early, because we don't have a lot of info on these games yet. So, you know, I want to see, I'm a big Western Kentucky fan. I'm a big Tyson Helton fan. So I will 100% be watching that. Their QB, Maverick McGuire, excuse me, is going to be, I think is going to be really good. The defense definitely has its question marks. I'm not in on them. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. I know it's a really weird, and the answer kind of was in squiggles, but that's personally how I look at it. I look at matchups.
Yeah, no, I mean, as long as you get to the conclusion that you want, you know, I mean, that's kind of really all that matters. And like you said, yeah, as a person who you've always had a strategy and a sound system, and to kind of have your brain go in all those different directions, like you're saying now, just shows kind of the state of the things that they are. And yeah, I mean, laying off in week 0 and 1 to try to wait till week 2, 3, 4, you know, given the spots and the more information doesn't seem like a bad thing. So we got a lot of great matchups, man. We'll start with obviously kind of the biggest game on the slate, Texas Ohio State. That right now on FanDuel is Ohio State laying 2.5 with an over under 47.5. I kind of like the under in that, but we'll talk about, you know, is there anything that you would see from either team, barring an injury to Arch, an injury to Ohio State's quarterback, or an injury to Caleb Downs, you know, Jeremiah Smith, that would make you question these teams? Or is it, hey, you're going to watch it, there's going to be a winner or a loser, and we'll see both of them in the college football playoff?
Yeah, so to answer the last part, I do think both of these teams are on the CFB pretty comfortably, but obviously for seeding purposes, this game matters, which I think there's pros and cons of having this game week 1. Like for an attention factor, it's great, but for the game itself, I personally would like to see these teams play, before conference. So I guess before conference play starts, but I mean, week one, it's definitely entertaining. But yeah, I think the lack of experience for both of these QBs is going to speak volumes in this game. And like you said, I think you mentioned the under. I do like that. I haven't played it yet, but that is my lean in this game. Julian Sayin officially won the QB battle for Ohio State, and this will be his first ever start, especially with a start of this substance. I think we could see some nerves early, and I'm also a big first half under guy. First half totals in general, spreads I love. So this is definitely a game where I'll be targeting a first half under, a first half spread, depending on what I can get. I'll have to look. But I think we can see some mistakes. Texas's defense is very solid, as you mentioned, but the secondary has some concerns, in my opinion. But the front seven's unbelievable. Same with Ohio State's. There's some turnover, obviously, because Ohio State, when they won the national championship last year, had some guys leave. But these are two of the best programs in the sport. It's going to be an absolute blast to watch. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, is the amount of games both of these QBs have played, because Arch Manning has played, but it's not as much as people seem to make him out to be. Like, for whatever reason, and I think it's because of his last name, which is a little bit unfair to him, is, he's going to be QB1. He's already crowned basically QB1 of college football, and that's unfair to him. And I think it is because of his last name, which unfortunately, it's unfair to him, but I think he's going to be very good. But I want to, back him in conference play, possibly midway to later in the season. So I know what this team looks like. Like I said, this is going to be the most bet on game probably of the week of week 0, week 1. And rightfully so. It's going to be a blast, but I don't know what to fully expect from both of these QBs, especially it being a substance game that matters right off the bat in the season. So hopefully that answered your question. I know it was another weird one, but there's no injuries off the top of my head that I can think of right now that matters, but the QB battle definitely is going to decide, in my opinion, this game. So turnovers, Julian Sayin, it's his first real game, especially being against Texas. That's scary. Yes, he's at home, but still.
And to your point, man, it's almost kind of like, not that both teams can afford to lose it. I think they're going to play cautious, right? They know, hey, we're outside of the wheels falling off. They're going to the college football playoff. Now, I do think Texas is gauntlet. I haven't checked their schedule, but just there's more chances to trip up in the SEC than if Ohio State gets through this with a win, or even if they lose to Penn State, they beat Michigan, they're in, right? Like, they're not losing to Northwestern, they're not losing to Purdue. They can kind of ease their way in there. So I do think Texas does have a little bit more to lose. I do think we'll see both teams in there, but yeah, it'll be interesting. And I think conversely, the other ranked versus ranked matchups that we see, I think could be completely different. Like LSU, Clemson. I mean, for one, Brian Kelly has to win this game. Like he has to get off to a fast start. Like they have Nussmeier and Klubnik, both of I believe they're 2 and 3 in the Heisman preseason voting, behind Arch, which Arch shouldn't be number one, as you kind of mentioned, but we'll digress on that. But like those two teams, like Clemson's defense, apparently Clemson's receiving core is the best it's ever been. Like kind of a must win for Brian Kelly. I mean, are we expecting to see guns blazing with that one up and down the field? Or I guess, what are your thoughts on that and who comes out, or how would you play it?
That one, I'm going to pull up the line real quick. Just bear with me. I know it's 3.5, but I want to see what the total is at. But yeah, I think that's a game that we see a lot of points. Like I said, yeah, the over-under is 57.5, so I 100% expect to see points. And LSU, like, they're getting talk, but I don't think they're getting talk for the right reasons. Like, it's just because of Nussmeier, and he's a senior, he's going to the draft next year no matter what. They brought in Berrien Brown. LSU did. They brought in Berrien Brown from Kentucky, who's probably one of the fastest wide receivers, if not the fastest in college football. So that's going to help them a lot. They brought in a kid from Oklahoma by the last name of Anderson. I think his first name's Nick Anderson. He's going to be really good. So they have a lot of weapons. And as you said, like Brian Kelly has to win this game. Like it can't be, it's adamant. Like this is circled on their schedule. This is the game that matters and nothing else does for now. Like they can't focus on any other games later in the season, even though it's not even a conference game is what's crazy. So it 100% matters. This LSU defense is what it was bad last year. we'll see how it is this year. I'm not 100% sure. That's like another reason. Like the most important thing I can say to anybody watching is you have to watch these games so you know what to expect. Like I can go ahead and say like, LSU, yeah, they're a top 25 school. They're going to have a good defense. They might not. Like you have to watch these games. You got to get eyes on them, especially being like this good of a matchup. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be betting Western Kentucky and watching it. A lot of people won't be, but I make money backing these smaller schools that a lot of people don't know that, I may have an edge on, or I might know a lot more than the average person. So, but definitely watch these games. And to answer your question, I do think there's going to be points in this game, and it's going to be great. But Brian Kelly has to win this game, and I don't know if he will.
DJ, we both know that you and I will have Kent State Merrimack on the quad box on one of the TVs up there, right? That's a game, obviously, that we'll have one as well too.
There we go.
Who needs LSU? Who needs LSU Clemson, right? When you got Kent State Merrimack. But yeah, man, another real intriguing one. And I'll preface this with I hate Notre Dame, but I gained all the respect in the world for them last year, and they actually made me money a lot in the college football playoff. Just knew they would beat Georgia, just the way that they play. And I was not a Carson Beck guy. I'm hearing a lot of talk about Miami, a lot of people saying that this offense will be even better, and what Cristobal is building there. We both mentioned Miami could make that college football playoff. This is a game that they have to win versus Notre Dame obviously having a bit of a layup schedule. Is this the game where Miami's going to play a team that goes against kind of a completely different style than they play? And these are the games we saw Miami lose in the past. Like, what's going to be different this year with them, and who do you like coming in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical because, as you said, Miami's getting a lot of hype, and I don't really know how you go from Cam Ward to Carson Beck and say you get better. Like, they lost Restrepo, even though, like, Restrepo is not going to be a big-time NFL guy, but he just had really good chemistry with Cam Ward, and that's, quite frankly, why he's on the Titans right now. So I think Miami is going to be really, really good, but I'm not buying into the hype. I was big on Georgia last year. I bet 5 units on Georgia to win the SEC. It did happen, not in the fashion I thought it was going to happen, but I did win a lot of money off that. Got a little lucky. This Notre Dame team is going to be really good, and I think CJ Carr is the truth. He's a true gunslinger. He won the QB battle. Finally, they announced it. I was getting a little nervous at first. I thought the other kid was going to win it for a minute, but I think CJ Carr's the right choice. He's going to be really good. But that being said, the spread is at 2.5. I'm not going to say it's short because it is at Miami, but it definitely makes me cautious. So this is a game where I might, target a live bet or target maybe a second half line after I watch the first half, because I really don't know what to expect. I do think Miami is going to be really good. Their win total is insanely high. I think it's 10.5 now. It got juiced. Yeah, and it's just that's the ACC is Miami, Clemson, and Louisville in my opinion. So I think Miami is going to be good. Can they make the playoff? Yes. I don't know. I don't know about this game though. I know it's another huge game that matters week 1, so it's awesome. But at the same time, it's just I don't know if I can invest money in it this early.
Yeah, and I mean, to another point that you kind of brought up, I mean, yes, it's a home game for Miami, but we all know that, it's not the Orange Bowl, right? It's not the typical home field advantage. And, I hate games in pro stadiums, kind of sleepy, all that type of stuff. There's going to be just as many, if not more, Notre Dame fans there, and they'll feel like a home game for them. I would find it, to your point, tough to put money on Miami before the game with all the unknowns. Now, if they come out and they're bludgeoning Notre Dame, remember a couple years ago when they beat the crap out of them by 30 points, that was kind of shocking there. But it'll be interesting. Again, I think Miami definitely needs this game more than Notre Dame does. Not necessarily because their schedule's tougher, but just to say, hey, we finally won that game that people were expecting us to lose kind of thing in there. So, good stuff, man, on kind of those big games.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that. And as a little, closing thing to this Miami game, this couldn't be more important for Carson Beck because last year we could see his confidence was gone. Kirby Smart tore him a new one, and then they brought in why am I blanking Georgia's QB's name?
Gunnar Stockton.
Gunnar Stockton, thank you. They brought in Stockton. He looked good, but nothing special. And then, he single-handedly, I'd say, won them the SEC championship, which was nuts because I thought my bet was dead to rights. And so Carson Beck got a lot of shit last year, and rightfully so. You know, he kind of deserved it, but I am a Carson Beck guy, but this game does everything for his confidence. If he loses this game, wouldn't surprise me if he's in a rut for the rest of the year and starts doing dumb shit like he did last year and start throwing picks just for no reason. Start throwing the ball into double coverage and get nervous. Like, this game means everything for Miami, and it means obviously it's a big game for Notre Dame too. But I can't, put enough emphasis on what this game means to Carson Beck.
Well, hopefully we'll be throwing up some U's, you know what I mean, by the end of the game there. Because, yeah, I would love to see Miami win that game. But talk about, man, we talked a little bit about the games, but is there a particular line or a game that, just doesn't make any sense to you? You're like, why is the line like this? Or are there one or two that stand out to you at all?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily that it doesn't make sense, because I understand from a betting perspective and like a public perspective of why it is the way it is, but I don't really understand the over-under of Iowa State, Kansas State. I think it's too high. It's at 49.5, and for whatever reason, it seems to be going up. This is a conference game, so they literally start out in the Big 12 play, and it's overseas in Ireland.
Right.
49.5 is a lot of points. You see Kansas State, you see Iowa State. A lot of people think of offense, but me personally, I think of a Big 12 matchup overseas, and it's going to start out slow. So I 100% will be on the first half under. Right now it's at 24.5, so like that's a key number. It wouldn't surprise me if this ticks up and you could maybe get 25.5. Not that that matters too much given like key numbers, if you know how that works, if you're watching. But I just think Avery Johnson's really good. Don't get me, well, I shouldn't say really good, but he's a Heisman candidate. Does he win it? No, I don't think there's any way in hell. But Rocco Becht in this Iowa State offense, to me, they're going to have to show me. I'm not exactly sure who wins this game. Kansas State's a 3.5-point favorite. They should be favored, but I think they start out slow. I like the first half under quite a bit, so I think it's just the total's too inflated, especially with it being the game being played overseas, which, in my opinion, no football game should be played overseas. But that's a different rant to go on.
I proposed this question to our boy Rob the other day. What are there going to be more of, points scored in that game or guys named Liam in the crowd? And, he went with Liam's because it's, just a great Irish name in there. But you're exactly right, man. And, to your point, they're throwing that out there because it's the first game of the year and they're going to think that people are going to want action and everyone's going to lay money. Oh, man, like, we know those names. I mean, to your point, Avery Johnson was the reason Will Howard transferred and Will Howard won a freaking national title. You know what I mean? Yep. So the dude's legit. And we saw Kansas State's wheels fall off a bit when he got hurt. And then I think they had Adrian Martinez, like who was still around last year, I think, or 2 years ago, played quarterback for him. Maybe it was last year. But yeah, I mean, both of those programs, we're going to talk about a couple other Big 12 teams, so we'll kind of table that. But yeah, very, very interesting matchup for it. And I agree with you. They shouldn't be playing it over there. It is what it is. But we saw the nightmare that was Georgia Tech, Florida State last year. And I mean, granted, that was the demise of Florida State there. But yeah, flying overseas does not lend to a ton of points coming out early, especially probably on some sloppy turf over there. But,
yeah, 100% agree, especially with it being a conference game, which in my opinion is just dumb. The Big 12 should never allow a conference game of this substance to be played overseas, especially just in general week one. Not necessarily week one, because the game could be played week one, but it shouldn't be. A conference game should not be played overseas. I don't care what conference, even if it's the MAC. I don't care. It shouldn't be played over there.
Well, we'll get into a little bit. So we'll talk our three best bets at the end of the show here. But let's get into college football playoff here. Hate to keep giving this guy all the props, but talked to Rob actually in a previous podcast and gave him an over/under on number of new college football playoff teams, and he had it at, hey, you could see up to 6 or 7 new teams on there. And there are some arguments for some of the teams that made it last year as to why they might not make it this year. I mean, I think there's a couple absolute locks. I mean, there's no way Penn State doesn't get in, short of the wheels falling off. I mean, Texas, Ohio State, we like to think that they're in, but I'm going to give you a couple teams. You let me know your percentage chance, or maybe a 1 through 10 on them making the college football playoff. Okay. I'm going to start very, very easy because I think we both agree on this, and this is a team that I root for, Roll Damn Tide. But Alabama, I'm a big DeBoer guy. He's in year 2. He has his quarterback. He doesn't have a quarterback that he inherited. I mean, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the guy was in Division II, and then he's playing a national title game in Washington. It's easy to go from Washington to Alabama versus D2 to playing in the national title game. So I think DeBoer is a real deal. I might be wrong, but Alabama, percentage chance that they make the college football playoff, what is it?
65.
Okay.
So 70. So I'll give them 70%. I think there's a really good chance they make it.
And what record do you think they would need to not make it in? Because last year, obviously, we saw that they didn't get the Alabama treatment of getting in there just because they had 3 or 4 losses.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up their schedule just because I actually looked at this last week when I was looking at SEC win totals, and theirs actually stuck out to me, but I decided not to take it. I don't like their under by any means, but
I think
Alabama,
it was 9.5, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I just want to look at their schedule real quick because there was a game that I think they lost. Oh, that's what it was. It was at Georgia. It's the first road game they play. I'm not going to say there's no way they win the game, but I don't think they beat Georgia at Georgia, especially after what we saw last year when those two teams played and how Alabama basically blew a huge lead to Georgia. And then Georgia allowed like this crazy catch by Ryan Williams in one of the best plays of the college football season last year. So I don't think Alabama wins that game. But I think just after – so they start with Florida State. That's a win, in my opinion. Louisiana Monroe, that's a win. Wisconsin, that's a win. Their game 4 is a loss, so there's 3-1. They're going to beat the shit out of Vandy. There's 4-1. They're not losing to Mizzou. Tennessee's a win. South Carolina's – I could get the argument, but I don't think they lose that. I think they lose 2 games all year. Or in the regular season, I should say. So I think they're in. And a loss against Georgia isn't going to really – gonna haunt them,
And tell me if you think there's any merit to this. And I do think that, the committee are people like everybody else, right? They have emotions. I do think they tried to prove a little bit of a point last year that's like, we'll put in the Indianas and the SMUs of the world to appease everybody. And then you saw SMU get bludgeoned. Now, granted, they turned the ball over. They were driving against Penn State. Not saying that Alabama goes in and beats Penn State, but Alabama sure as hell gives Penn State a better game in that game, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe they kind of learn their lesson, or they're going to kind of have in the back of their mind, hey, last time we put in this, somewhat fraudulent team versus a team that had a tough schedule. Now, Alabama did do themselves favors by losing to Vandy and Oklahoma, 2 teams that, especially Oklahoma, that didn't do anything well. And we'll touch on Oklahoma, a little foreshadowing there. But yeah, so I do think that the committee, that's in the back of their mind, whether we like it or not, there are biases. And, I was a proponent of, if you look at all the metrics on paper for why Alabama should have gotten in, they were head and shoulders better in all the metrics than SMU was, and SMU got in. So, I think we'll see a little bit of a regression to the mean there. So we're going to talk about a little, a couple of Big 12 teams that both you and I like, and probably going to be the most fun conference of the year. I mean, you can look way down the board at plus 800, plus 900. I mean, Arizona State was like plus 2,000 last year to win the Big 12, and they did it. And we saw how many teams had a chance to win it the final week of the season. But Baylor and Texas Tech, we'll go back to back with them. We'll start with Baylor, but percentage chance that they make the college football playoff. And do you think it's a one conference or a one big conference?
I do not think the Big 12 is a one big conference. I think we see 2 minimum. I don't think we'll see 3, but I think 2 is a really good number for them. What am I going to say? Texas Tech percentage to make it. 25%, and then Baylor is probably a little lower, so 20. But like how I get that number is the Big 12 is so like, I'm not going to say top heavy because it's not. Everybody in that conference can compete, but the thing is they're going to beat the hell out of one another. Like, we're going to see Arizona State lose a couple games this year. We're going to see Texas Tech probably drop a few games. Like, Baylor plays Auburn, which, no, it's not a conference game, but they play Auburn week 1. Like, these schedules are pretty rough. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see 2 Big 12 teams in it. And I think that conference is growing on me because originally I was very, not necessarily anti-Big 12, but I was hesitant to, be a Big 12 backer. But over the last couple of years, I've gained an interest in watching a majority of these conference games when they play one another. So I think we see 2 Big 12 teams. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, and even laying money on Sawyer Robinson or the quarterback from Texas Tech. I mean, if you think they're going to make the college football playoff, laying a little Heisman future on them might not be the worst idea there. But you're right. Yeah, I would like the chances better if it wasn't a dog eat dog kind of environment. There's less wiggle room for the Big 12. They don't have the credibility to be like, well, look at these teams. They all kind of beat up on each other. But if you look at the quality that's going to be in there, it's like no one's getting through that 11-1. I mean, they're just not.
Yeah.
So it's like.
And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but to go on to that point, I'm kind of anti Kansas State and I'm anti Arizona State this year. I think Arizona State had a hell of a season. They were projected dead last year in their conference, and they ended up obviously making the playoff and having a phenomenal run. I don't think that happens again. I think Kenny Dillingham's a hell of a coach, but I don't see it. I know a lot of people are big on Utah, and I understand why, but to me, it's Baylor and Texas Tech. Personally, I think those are the two teams that could possibly make it. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of them does make it. So it's not a horrible investment. You can get pretty good odds on FanDuel, but I had enough sweat betting a conference championship game last year, so I'm good off that for a long time.
Okay. And we'll go with another kind of power conference before we go group of 5 here. But I've seen a lot of people kind of high on this team, and I don't understand it. Oklahoma. So a lot of people, they're kind of people's darlings to get in there. What do you think their percentage chances of making the college football playoff are?
10, 5, maybe.
Okay.
I don't think there's any way. I'm not a Mateer guy at all. I think he's good, but I'm not an Oklahoma fan. I think their schedule's brutal. Like if you look at Oklahoma's schedule and you compare it to like an Ole Miss, for an example, which we can talk about, we can go on. But I think Ole Miss's schedule is extremely favorable, just like it was last year. And if they don't make the college football playoff, then there needs hell is needed in Oxford. So yeah. I'm going to pull up Oklahoma's schedule just so we can go over it. But I think it's absolutely brutal. I looked at this.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the thought process of having them as a viable option over an Ole Miss and A&M or even a South Carolina, I mean, I just don't understand. You're asking a lot for a guy to transfer in, and you're asking a lot for Venables to come in and have this great offense coming in. I mean, people look at Oklahoma, they still have the talent. Look, they beat Alabama and, kind of what they did. But, yeah, I'm with you. I just schedule, like, I'm sure once you go over that, it'll make even less sense for me that they're going to make the college playoff.
Yeah, so here's the schedule. They play Illinois State, so that starts off with a softball down the middle. So there's 1-0. They play Michigan at home. Sharon Moore decided to take his suspension after that Oklahoma game, so we get Sharon Moore to coach at Oklahoma. You could call it a toss-up. I don't think Oklahoma wins it. So to be fair, let's go. I'm going to go 0-2, and I'll give them a favorable matchup later in the season. So they start, 1-1. Then they beat Temple. There's 2-1. They play Auburn at Oklahoma, so we'll give them 3-1. Kent State, the easy game, 4-1. They're not winning the Red River rivalry, against Texas. That game's always played in Dallas. That's a loss. They go at South Carolina. It being directly after the Red River rivalry, say that 30 times, say that 5 times fast. South Carolina's. I'm not high on them as a lot of people are, but I think South Carolina probably wins that game. And then Oklahoma plays Ole Miss at home, so that could be one of the games Ole Miss drops. They have to go to Knoxville to play Tennessee. They play Alabama at Alabama. They play Missouri at home, which Missouri is not going to be good. And they play LSU at home. So they play LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Michigan, and Auburn, and Texas. The schedule's brutal. I don't think there's any way that if they make the playoff, I'll be shocked. I don't think there's any way in hell they do.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's I never understood that. And there's people much smarter than me in there that are high on Oklahoma, so I just didn't get it. But yeah, we do know if they get through that schedule, they're 1,000% in, right? Like if they get through that in any sort of reasonable thing. Same thing with Florida, and that's why I might sprinkle a little bit on Lagway, provided he's healthy. Schedule factors into a lot of stuff, but I know one that you mentioned kind of when we were going over our rundown here. So percent chance of making the college football playoff, and the reason I don't have them higher is because I thought if they didn't make it last year based on what they did, how is it going to improve this year? But you have Navy on there. So are they your G5 representative? What do you think is the chances for them? I would imagine pretty high, correct?
Yeah, I think if Navy, I'm not going to say it's like a guarantee for them to get in because it's not. Obviously, their odds are actually really high. There's a really good value on them to make the playoff. I think it's like, let me make sure I'm not talking out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure it's 10-1. Like you can get hold on, let me look up college football playoff to make it. They're in, where are they? American. They're 12-1 to make the college football playoff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like that is insane value. I didn't realize it was that high. I might have to throw something on it. Nothing crazy, but their schedule, to me, if you want to pull that up, you can. I'll do it as well. But it is extremely easy. Like, they brought back pretty much everybody. Horvat's still the quarterback. Here's their schedule. They play VMI, which is Virginia Military Institute. They're not losing that game. They play UAB at home. There's 2-0. They play Tulsa. Tulsa's horrible. They can't stop the run. There's 3-0. They play Rice, which Rice is going to be a little bit better, but I don't think they have what it takes to beat Navy. There's 4-0. They play Air Force, 5-0. They play Temple. Temple sucks, 6-0. Florida Atlantic, 7-0. North Texas, if North Texas somehow throws the deep ball on them 15 times, like over the top, North Texas will win. I don't think it happens. I just don't think they can stop the run. I am going to say 8-0. They play at Notre Dame. They're not winning that game. There's 8-1. They play South Florida. To me, that's a win. I could see where I get a little bit of an argument, but especially the week after being it's a bye, and then they play Memphis the week after. So I think they lose 2 games all year in the regular season, I should say. They play Notre Dame and Memphis are the 2 ones that I see that are losses, and I don't think they lose to Army the last game of the year, December 13th, I think is when that is.
And that's where I'm kind of torn on that, because it's like it was a similar kind of the Army syndrome from last year. It's like they're just bludgeoning teams. I'm a Navy, but it's like the AAC was so bad that it's like, okay, who are they beating? Who are they beating? Who are they beating? It's almost like you have no margin for error. If you come out and don't put up a fight against Notre Dame, it's like, well, there goes them, kind of thing. But also, there's not going to be Boise State this year. So is that kind of also part of the thinking, well, like Boise's not going to run the table and kind of be the head and shoulders above everybody else. So it's got to be somebody, right? And, like you said, with Navy going through that and having still a good schedule, and Memphis and Notre Dame are quality teams, and South Florida is kind of quality. Is that kind of the thinking there, that like that's why you're so high on Navy coming out despite losing 2 games?
Yeah, I'm high on Navy strictly because of the schedule. I mean, like I said, if they lose like one of those games that I talked about where it's like they're Navy 100% going to be a favorite and they lose, then it's dead. Like they're going to be a dog 2 times this year, and it's going to be at Memphis and it's going to be at Notre Dame, and I think they lose both of those games. Give me 1 second. What benefits them is the American Conference has, I would say, I'll say 5 good teams. I'll take USF. They're not bad, but they avoid Tulane. They avoid UTSA. They have to play Memphis. So if they make the American Conference Championship game, and let's say they play UTSA or Tulane, that benefits them because they haven't played either of those teams. And 2, if they win that, how do you punish a 2-loss Navy team like against Notre Dame being 1, and against the other 2, I get the second one, I'm going to say Memphis, just because I think Memphis is going to be pretty solid this year. I don't necessarily think they win the conference, but I'm pretty high on Navy. Just like their schedule is so easy, and I don't like to back teams strictly just because the schedule is this, schedule is that, but this has got to be one of the easiest schedules in the college football.
And last one, we'll go back to kind of a power conference team. A team that you like is I'm going to pronounce it correctly. I get the phlegm in my throat here, but it's Louisville. So thoughts on the Cardinals? I mean, we kind of saw them. Everything was in their hands, and then they kind of came out and turned the ball over 5,000 times against Notre Dame. With the ACC, like you said, being very, very top heavy there, it's like I don't know if they play Clemson or Miami this year in the regular season, but what percentage chance would you give them?
I'm going to give them
we saw 2 not to interrupt, sorry. We saw 2 ACC teams again last year, so it's obviously can be done.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a 20% chance, and I think that's a realistic number. They do play Miami and play Clemson this year. Miami's a road game, and Clemson is a home game. I don't think they beat Clemson because I think they did last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they have a chance to beat Miami even though it's a road game. Miller Moss is a quarterback that's not being talked about whatsoever. He got a lot of hype at USC last year and it was pretty ugly, to be honest, from what everybody thought Miller Moss was going to be compared to what the stats that he had. It wasn't anything special. But I think Jeff Brom is a really good football coach. Again, I'm a Kentucky fan. I hate giving Louisville credit, but I'll give credit where credit's due. They've improved significantly in all assets of college sports, even college basketball, in the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years. So their schedule is Eastern Kentucky. That's a win. JMU's a win. Bowling Green's a win. At Pittsburgh, I could see an argument, but I don't think they lose the game. Let's say 4-0. They play Virginia, 5-0. Miami, they get a bye after the Virginia game, then they have a bye, and then they play Miami. I think that's huge for them. So it's a toss-up. Well, I'm not going to say a win or loss because it truly is a toss-up in my opinion. They're going to be a dog. So they play Boston College, which will be an interesting game. Anyway, I can read nobody cares about the schedule, but if they beat 2 of the 3 teams that they play this year, and they play SMU as well, so it's SMU, Miami, Florida, and Clemson. If they win 2 of those 3, I think they're in the ACC championship game. And if they win the ACC somehow, which will probably be Clemson, as my guess is who they play. If they somehow win that game, they're in the playoff. Like, I think Miller Moss has what it takes to do it. I think Jeff Brom has the ability to do it. I think he's a really good football coach. We'll see. 20% chance, in my opinion, isn't a bad chance for a Louisville football team to make it somehow.
Yeah, no, I mean, to your point, it's not unfeasible for them to be the second best team in the ACC and get in. And I kind of, this is a real long shot, but just kind of based on value. It's like if Georgia Tech found its way into the ACC title game, it wouldn't shock me. It would surprise me. But once you're in there, you have no idea what can happen. I mean, we look at the way they finished the year last year with should have beaten Georgia Tech and, just a drubbing of Miami. It's like there's going to be that team similar to SMU last year that kind of all of a sudden they're in the ACC championship game and you're like, damn, if they win, they're in the college football playoff for sure, and
100%.
then kind of go from there. So we did get a comment here from, and guys, thanks for listening. So from Lake Lightning, he is a Husker fan, and there's been one team since 2017 that has gone under their college football over-under win total every year, and it's been Nebraska. And, this year with Raiola in year 2 and Matt Rule in year 3, he wants to know your thoughts on the Cincy game. I did see plus Nebraska laying 6 in the hook against Cincinnati so far. But what are your thoughts on that game and the Huskers as a whole?
So I'll answer the second part of that question first. I'm actually really high on Nebraska this year. That was the first win total I placed, and I put a significant amount on it. I think they're going to be really solid. And I know I keep talking about schedules, but schedules matter. Their schedule is, to me, I'm not going to say easy, but it's very manageable. Mm-hmm. I was a big Raiola, not hater, but I wasn't impressed with him last year. But I think the addition of Dana Holgorsen is going to do him great. I think it's one of the best things that could have happened for him. So Dana Holgorsen, obviously, is a more offensive-minded OC than the other guy they had. I can't even remember who their last OC was. The last OC hated their running back Johnson too. They had personal issues from what I read, and he's Caleb Johnson. He's coming back, or not Caleb Johnson, Emmett Johnson, excuse me. He's coming back. So the offense is going to be great. Dane Key's coming from Kentucky. That's another Kentucky transfer that came from there. He's a wide receiver. He's going to be the wide receiver 1. He's going to put up a bunch of yards this year. And so, in my opinion, if Raiola just does what he's supposed to do, which is manage the game, don't turn the ball over, I think they're in for a really successful season. I bet their win total over at minus 115. It's skyrocketed to minus 165, so don't lay that number now, please. I got a way better number on it. I hammered it on Hard Rock Sportsbook. But to answer your question on week 1, when they play Cincinnati, the line, it's got me nervous. I'm not going to lie. The 6.5, it's a neutral site. It's in Arrowhead in Kansas City. So I really expected Nebraska to be getting a little bit more line respect here. I thought 7.5 would be the minimum. And now we see it under a touchdown, or a touchdown, an extra point, 7 points. We see under 7. It's got me concerned. I'm not a big Cincinnati guy, but there's a reason, and I don't know why, because in my opinion, Nebraska fans are going to travel to Arrowhead. I mean, that's an awesome place to go to watch a football game, especially being Nebraska's fans are kind of crazy. No offense to you, the Lake Lightning guy. I don't know. I think week 1 is gonna set the tone for the year and see how they do. But I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie for week 1. But other than that, I think the schedule sets up for them really well. I mean, they play Penn State. They're not beating Penn State. They play Michigan at home. They're 3.5-point dog. I already looked at the look-ahead line. I think they can win that game. I really do.
Yeah, I mean they'll be like 5 or 6-1 heading into 5-0 heading into kind of the tough games of their schedule. And I'm probably going to not watch that game with the sound on since they're playing in Kansas City because it's going to be nauseating with the Mahomes Rayola comparisons, right? Like
Yeah.
they wear the same number, they have the same throwing style. I like Rayola too. I've never been a Nebraska guy. Sorry to like Lightning, and it's weird being a Maryland basketball fan. Now I have to develop a hatred for these teams in the Big Ten when they probably can't even pick out Maryland on a map because they've never even seen Maryland. Where would you know that is if you live in Nebraska or Iowa? But college football is better when the Huskers are good and still passionate fan base. I mean, they sell Memorial Stadium, and it's the third largest. It has a population of the third largest town in Nebraska when it's filled. So we'll love to see them win that. And I think Cincinnati's so bad, to your point too, that it's kind of Nebraska by default, but it's not a game that I would love to bet there. So.
Yeah,
Well,
to me, it's just sorry to interrupt.
you're
I'll
good.
just expand on it. To me, it's like I think Cincinnati wins that game. Like I'm not gonna change my mind about it. I mean, I bet the win total. I'm not hedging by any means. Week 1, there's no way. But like the line it's weird to me, and I can't figure out why it is what it is because I really thought it would be over 2 possessions, or not over 2 possessions, but be 7.5 or something like that. But it being a neutral site, I think it's big for Nebraska. I mean, obviously you'd rather have that game at home, but at least you don't have to travel to Cincy.
Before we get into our 3 best bets here for each of us, we do have one more question that says, and I heard this on the Bear Bet podcast too. Bear is all over this team. It's the UTSA Roadrunners. Now, I don't know if Jeff Trainer is still there. I know they were kind of a team that was sexy last year as a pick too and kind of underachieved, but I know they have a couple power conference teams, I think, on their schedule, but can they win the American and be the Group of 5 representative?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, I'm a big G5 school better. I bet a lot of Conference USA. UTSA was in Conference USA until I think 3 years now. They moved to the AAC. I'm a big Jeff Traylor guy. I was a big Zachary Franklin, Joshua Cephas. They were the wide receivers. Frank Harris was their quarterback. I was big. I invested in UTSA every year for 2 years, and they made me a shit ton of money when I was in college. And I actually faded them for the first time last year, and it kind of ripped at my heart to do so, but it was the easiest bet I've ever made in my life. They cashed their under win total in the first 5 weeks of the season because it was I forget what it was, but I think it was 7.5, and they've already lost 4 games in conference. They couldn't have gone over, and they played a lot better the second half of the year, and it would have been close if they did anything at the start. But I think this is a team that Owen McCown proved me wrong on. I thought he was very overrated. I didn't like him, but then I watched him, the second half of the season started. I'm a big Jeff Traylor guy, as I already said, and Owen McCown proved me wrong. So I do think they're going to be really good this year. They lost a couple guys on defense, but the offense, I can't remember the receiver's name off the top of my head. I need to look into them a little bit more, but they kept a majority of their receivers. I know that for a fact, and I'm a Jeff Traylor guy. I think he was in the conversation to get the A&M job with Elko and with Mark Stoops, we already talked about earlier. And I just am. I like UTSA. I like the school. I'm big UTSA guy, but do they win the ACC? I don't know. But not the ACC, the AAC, excuse me. I don't know, but I think there's definitely a path that leads them to victory there.
Yeah, I mean, we think that, the Group of 5 representative is coming out of that conference, so why not? I mean, if they can rebound and live up to kind of the expectations that people have for them, it's definitely worth a little sprinkle in there, in my opinion. So awesome stuff, man. So we'll go into, I guess, to wrap things up here, your 3 best bets for week 0 and week 1. I'll give my 3 to start and then kind of just let you pick apart my 3 or agree with them and then kind of give your 3. So I will be on actually probably Toledo first half plus the 4.5, just strictly because you say I could find a way. Maybe Kentucky lucks into that game or it goes down to 7, and then I don't like as much of the 7, but the 4.5 in the first half, Toledo might even be leading at half in that game. And then the under in the Ohio State Texas game with that one. And I will probably I'm torn between Syracuse and 14 or Baylor money line against Auburn, but I'll go with Baylor money line, but definitely take the 2.5 for sure in that game and probably buy the 3. So those are my 3.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with any of those three. I like those. I lean all of those on those bets. But I'm gonna give you three games. I'm not gonna say they're necessarily my best bets because I haven't bet anything yet, other than my Kansas State first half under. I got it at 24.5. I only played it for a half a unit, so again, like I said earlier, I'm not gonna go bet more than a unit a game, especially this early. But I have a couple other games I have in mind that I'm going to be on another one. I just don't know to what extent, if I'm targeting first half full game. But I'm going to go with La Tech. La Tech's minus 13.5 against Southeast Louisiana. La Tech's a team that I think does significantly better this year in Conference USA. This season, I like them to come out with a statement. Selah isn't bad. They're in the FCS, and they went 6-1 in conference last year, 7-5 overall. Sonny Cumbie and Evan Bullock, in my opinion, for La Tech, take a stride this year. Conference USA is extremely weak. I already talked about it earlier. Western Kentucky is the second best. Number one's Liberty. And I think it's wide open. Like, if La Tech does anything, I am a La Tech investor. I bet their win total at 5.5. Laid a little bit of juice, minus 145. I hate doing that, but it's okay. I think they won 6 games. And this is one of them. So I think they come out with a statement win at home, and I think they lay the smackdown on Selah. So everybody's older on this team. They got a couple new guys, like a couple from Mississippi State, which is an SEC team, which they weren't good, but having SEC talent on a Conference USA roster is always good, no matter what position. So I'm going to go with La Tech minus 13.5. I'm going to be on that for sure. So I'll say that was one of my best bets. And then the other one was I haven't bet it yet. I'm going to try to find a better line. It's TCU minus the points. They're 3.5 right now. I'm hoping I can get -3. I hate to fade Bill Belichick, but the UNC team has so many question marks. We don't know what they're going to be on offense or defense. Bill's been extremely quiet in the media about his team, about what they're going to do. It's just weird to me because, obviously Bill's an interesting character. We all know that. But there's not enough media around him, which that could be a great thing for him. That could be a bad thing. And for me, with the extent of having, in my opinion, the greatest coach ever to come to college football and there's no hype around it, it seems like a dud to me. So I'm a big Eric McAllister guy. I think he's going to be really good for TCU this year. He's their wide receiver 1. Josh Hoover, he what's the word? He hooked me. I'll just say that. He hooked me last year. He was better than I thought he was going to be. So I think TCU puts belt to ass week 1, personally. I think they win by double digits. I really do.
And we know that's going to be a very, very public game where, that line might even move, to get you a better number with TCU laying the points there too. So it might behoove a little bit to kind of wait on that one, right? Because is that Monday night? Is that the Monday night game for week 1, or when is that?
I'm going to look, but I actually don't think – I'll look at when they play it, but I don't think the line's going to move in North Carolina's direction because they play on September 1st, which is I'm going to say it is a Monday.
I think it's Labor Day.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking really fast.
Because the 30th is Saturday.
Yeah, you're right. September 1st. Yeah, it is Labor Day. It's Monday. North Carolina opened up as a favorite in this game. And then, all the money is being poured on TCU, and, the public side is not TCU. I mean, yeah, they're getting money, but not 70, according to FanDuel, so take this with a grain of salt. This is only FanDuel. 70% of the money, 74% of the money is on North Carolina, with 42% of the bets are on North Carolina. So we'll see. I don't know. I just think if the money line goes to minus anything below -140, I'll just lay that. I don't care. That's fine. But if I get a flat 3, which I could even buy the hook, I guess that's fine. A -3, and I'd pay a little bit of juice, probably -118 would be my guess, -120 maybe. I don't have a problem doing that. But again,
where's that game at?
It's at North Carolina, but it doesn't. I don't think it matters, in my opinion. I just don't the lack of media to me is kind of, I'm not going to say telling because I could be completely wrong, but I think it's fishy that we're not getting more media about Bill Belichick than what we are.
You're right there because you would think if they were doing anything good at practice and the team was kind of better than you thought there'd be a bunch of reports coming out about it, like, hey, look what
Yeah.
Belichick's doing at UNC, all this kind of stuff. So it is eerily quiet. I just think when I talked about movement is like with it being kind of a standalone game on Monday, you're going to get the average bettor that's going to, oh, I've been having some cocktails. Oh, Bill Belichick's in North Carolina. Let me lay money on them. Let me lay money on them. And like, you're going to get massive public money coming in kind of at the last minute there to, on North Carolina side. But if Vegas doesn't move it, then that tells you all that you need to know right there on how much they like TCU in that game. And look at us hyping another Big 12 team there. So,
yeah, I mean, the Big 12 is going to be a dogfight. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, like normally I'm not a Big 12 guy, but there's a lot of teams that have a chance to do something special this year, and that includes winning a Big 12 title. But you just got to, you got to survival of the fittest, who beats who and who can last the longest, I guess, because they're gonna eat each other alive. It's the same thing with the SEC. Like every year, like they beat the shit out of one another. Who survives it, who can come out healthy, who can, stack up these wins in one possession games, and yeah.
Well, DJ, during the show, I got a notification that Felix Bautista is pretty much going to be out for all of next year for my Baltimore Orioles, and then also Lamar Jackson left practice today with an apparent right wrist injury for the Ravens. So not great stuff coming out of Maryland here, kind of today. But yeah, man, really appreciate the time, man. Just let everyone know again where they can follow your picks, where you're posting your picks, and both you and I will have to have celebrity guest picks on Rob's picks. I already let him know that. So, but just yeah, man, let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter or X now. It's at Picks with Deej, Deej. Real name's DJ, but I go by Deej. Everybody calls me that. Yeah, man, and I post my plays there on like every day, college football, college basketball on Twitter. I also track it on my Action app. It's the same exact thing at Picks WDeej. Yeah, man, I appreciate you for having me, and we'll 100% do this a couple more times this year, man. Yeah. I'm excited.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to play the mascot game college basketball season. People are going to be like, how the hell do you know, when you said UTSA, I'm like, obviously the Roadrunners, but yeah, the Centenary College Gentlemen and the Presbyterian Blue Hose are just a couple good college basketball ones out there for mascots for people. But yeah, man, appreciate it. And, our boy Snacks 8897 Ian on Twitter loves you, man. So he says hi, and yeah, man. So best of luck in week 1. Appreciate the time. We will certainly do it again, and great stuff, man.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for having me, and shout out Snacks.
There you go.
Peace.
See you guys.